coming up on this episode of Up for Debate, what are we going to talk about? 90s board games. We're back. We promised we would do it, so we're going to do it. Board games of the 90s, the ones you remember as a child, assuming you're within the millennial age demographic like we are. We're going to reminisce about the good and the bad of the 90s board games right now. It's Up for Debate. Let's talk. This is Up for Debate, episode number 41, recorded January 14th, 2016. Board games, 90s style. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Up for Debate, the podcast that can and will talk about anything. I'm Sean Jennings, joined by our debate chair, the captain of this debate team,
the Baja Man of the 90s,
the Spice Girl himself,
Ricky
Matt
Martin. Oh yes, Matt Marion.
Yes, that's right. How are we doing, Matt?
We're doing all right. We're going to talk about some 90s things, I hear.
We are. We're going to do a 90s retrospective, specifically starting with board games. Then who knows what we'll talk about. But before we get to that, Matt, it's a very special episode because this is our first episode of Up for Debate.
Yes, it is.
Now, we may have done 40 of these already.
It was kind of strange hearing the intro for the first time, where you said, this is Up for a Debate.
Yeah, it's catchy.
You say, this is the Goldilocks.
I know, you're used to that. And I got to get used to it. I stumbled at the very beginning where I said coming up on, and I wanted to say it, but that's not our name anymore. It's been raised to the rafters. Its bust will be put in Canton, and we can retire. I got to get you a new mug. That mug, you have to throw that mug away, Matt. Smash it on the ground.
Throw it away.
It will no longer hold liquids. It is
gone forever.
Useless. So we have a new name, which means a new website, upfordebate.tv. I'll remind everybody, go there. It is sweet. And another really cool thing. Remember, Matt, how on the show I'd list off our Twitter handle and our Facebook account and all the places you can listen to this show? And we're not going to do that anymore. Upfordebate.tv/links. If you go there, it literally has the link to everything we do, all the social networks, all the places you can listen to the show. It's your one-stop shop. Upfordebate.tv/links.
Link up.
Link up, that's right.
Speaking of links.
Yeah.
How about we start talking? We'll start our discussion or our debate about the link cable. Do you remember this phenomenon, Sean?
Is this a Game Boy reference?
Oh, yes, it is. The Game Boy.
Oh, my goodness. I'm going to be so useless at this conversation because...
Did you not own a Game Boy?
I owned a Game Boy late, and I barely used it. You know me, I've never been a video game guy, and I really barely used it. Now, I had a link cable, and I used it to play Mario Kart.
Late to the scene.
And that was
played Mario Kart.
That was the only thing I did with the trademark link cable.
Okay. Well, I guess you can appreciate then that the link cable itself was this kind of this. It only had this one spot in history. Like it's hard to explain to people now, to kids now especially, because the link cable, like you used it to connect both of your Game Boy devices. Like you and a friend, presumably, or brother or sister or whatever, had a Game Boy, 2 Game Boys, and you linked them up via the link cable. Now, of course, there's Wi-Fi, so you don't even need to do that anymore. You could just stand next to each other. But like now, this time, you actually had to look each other in the eye and link up your Game Boys and trade stuff like Pokemon or whatever else you did with the link cable. Now, I was going to ask you. See, there's often a big debate.
Oh.
The Pokemon Game Boy players of the 90s.
Uh-huh.
Between whether you wanted to trade or if you wanted to battle.
Matt, I played exactly 0 minutes.
0 minutes.
I didn't own it. I never played it. I never borrowed it. I never touched the thing. I barely was in. I know nothing about Pokemon. I was never into that. I know. I lived a real. I still read books, Matt.
Books.
Yes, I was a nerd. So, sadly, I don't have a lot of inclusion on this. I feel awful because I know I'm sure you're very very excited. Well, why don't you tell me which one you're not picking, and I'll pretend to debate it
Okay.
because that's what we do here.
Here's what I'm not going to pick.
Yes.
I'm not going to pick talking about the link cable anymore. Instead,
Okay.
we're going to talk about something else.
Okay. That's what I like about this show. Very fly by night.
We're going to talk about Pogs.
Pogs.
Wow.
Oh my God! America's favorite cardboard discs.
Pogs were awesome. I like
Well,
Pogs.
okay. Hang on. Pogs were not awesome.
They were
I'm going to
pretty
stop
awesome.
you right there.
There we go. Here's our first debate.
I don't know if Pogs are awesome. Pogs were unique. Pogs were weird. And a fun fact, do you know the history of Pogs?
I do not know the history of Pogs. I would be fascinated to learn, though.
Oh boy, you're going to really love this.
All right.
Pog, P-O-G, a tropical juice drink created in 1971 on the island of Maui, Hawaii, containing P-O-G, passion fruit, orange, and guava. Okay? The caps on the bottles of Pog drink became popular during the mid to late 90s. The game may have originated in Hawaii in the 20s or 30s. There was a guy hired by them for marketing and promotions. He ordered milk caps imprinted with the trademark Pog to give away as promotional items. It was inherited by a teacher in 1991 in Hawaii. She used the milk caps in her classroom and told the students about an old game she used to play by flipping milk caps. To be the first one to get the cream off the bottom, they began flipping milk caps, and that eventually turned into Pogs.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's pretty crazy. I like that. I like that story. So Pogs basically were just these cardboard, for anybody not in the know, cardboard. There's these cardboard circles about the size of a little bit bigger than a quarter, probably like about the size of a silver dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So, the game that went with it, but for the most part, I mean, most people I know just collected them. I had a pretty big Pog collection, and you kept them. We had this like protective case that is actually a little plastic tube that you put you could also use it to hold coins or quarters or whatever change you might have had, like loose change, but we stuffed Pogs in there. You bring them to school, you traded them, and you just basically wanted the ones that looked the coolest. They had little pictures on them. Some of them were holographic.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the coolest ones. You were the coolest kid if you had a holographic Pog set. And yeah, that was Pogs. Pogs were neat.
Now, do you remember how to play the game Pogs?
I do not remember.
Would you like me to tell you how to play the game Pogs?
I would definitely like to remember. I don't remember ever playing the game.
No, I don't think anyone did.
We just collected them. Yeah. So go on. What is this? What is this Pog story?
So they say it varies among players, but these are kind of the general rules. Each player has his or her own collection of Pogs and one or more slammers. You remember slammers?
Slammers, that was the word. I remember before the show I was trying to think of the words. The slammer was the heavier big Pog, and it was heavy.
Metal, rubber, or plastic in various thicknesses and weights.
Yeah, and what did you do with the slammer?
Okay, so first you decide whether or not you're playing for keeps or not, which means whether or not the winner gets your Pogs or if you're just playing for fun, right? Those were high stakes. Each player contributes an equal number of Pogs to build a stack with the pieces face down, which will be used during the game. They then take turns throwing their slammer down onto the top of the deck, causing it to spring up and the Pogs to scatter. Each player keeps any Pogs that land face up after they've thrown. So they start face down in a stack, you drop your slammer onto the stack and they bounce, and the ones that land face up you keep. After each throw, the Pogs which have landed face down are then restacked for the next player. When no Pogs remain in the stack, the player with the most Pogs wins. Now, Matt, the reason you didn't play Pogs is because it's terribly lame. This is like Jacks. It sounds boring. However, there's a World Pog Championship.
Ooh.
Started at Knott's Berry Farm, of all places. And there's a World Pog Federation, which
Cool.
I can't imagine are still in business. But what's amazing to me is that this ever became a thing. Like, I don't and of course, 90s, for my money, was the decade of fads, really. Although I guess you could say that about the 70s or the 80s. But
Yeah.
definitely a lot of fads. And I just don't understand how, over the span of about 2 years, it went from being a small game in Hawaii to a national and global craze.
Well, yeah, the origin story interests me. I didn't know that it was from Hawaii,
Yeah.
and I didn't know that it came from juice cartons, and then I guess it moved on to milk cartons.
Yeah.
Or whatever, jugs or milk jugs. Yeah, that's an interesting beginning for Pogs. I just thought it was just the smartest marketing move ever by anyone. Let's just put little pictures on these little cardboard circles.
Well, yeah, how much do you think that costs to make?
Exactly.
Less than a penny a piece?
Exactly. And then let's sell them for like 100 times their value. And people will buy them. And they'll buy them in packs and we'll trade them. I think it reached its peak really in like probably like the early to mid 90s for sure. It was a craze for a while. And I thought it was, I remember seeing Pogs advertised on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like you go to your local hobby shop and pick up a deck, I guess they're called deck of Pogs. I don't know, like a batch of Pogs.
Yeah.
But, it's cool. That's such an interesting story for the origin of Pogs. Now, I mean, it's pretty obvious to see how that faded. The game isn't terribly exciting. But as a collectible thing, I mean, I remember bringing the Pogs to school, trading them, and learning the values of certain Pogs over the other ones, the ones that you wanted, the ones you didn't. It was all completely aesthetic, of course, because you just wanted the ones that looked the coolest. But it was one of the first earliest memories I have of like putting value on an object.
Now I remember this was one of those local news things that they love to do, but a lot of schools banned Pogs.
Yes, they did.
That was quite a controversy because they didn't like the trading gambling aspect of it.
Yeah. School was not one of them. Although they did end up banning Pokemon cards at one point.
We had some kid get beat up over Pokemon and
yeah, there was always one incident. Somebody like lost
snap bracelets.
Snap bracelets that was a 90s thing.
Yeah, but did your school ban them?
No.
Our school
did not ban snap bracelets.
People were smacking each other with them, which is what you're supposed to do. But
I can totally see that. I think I think Pokemon cards were the only thing. Not only did they ban Pokemon cards, but I remember distinctly that you were not allowed to even talk about Pokemon ever.
I'm sure it was very, as a teacher, I'm sure you understand. I'm sure it's very distracting.
Now I totally understand. I'm sure it was extremely distracting, and it caused the cause of a lot of elementary school drama.
Mm-hmm.
So I could totally see where they were coming from. But Pog, I don't think they ever got that big to the point where my school needed to ban them. It was popular, but I don't think anybody really had a Pog obsession.
No, and again, I can only speak for my growing up, but in a very small community in the middle of nowhere in a very small school, we got fads late. We got fads at the tail end after everyone else had already gotten bored. So by the time they got to, it had a very short shelf life. Put it that way. Pogs are a faint memory. They came and went pretty quickly.
I mean, I feel like it probably died so quick because it was
because it sucked.
Because I was just going to say the game wasn't terribly exciting.
Well, and
more the collecting aspect of it. I thought.
Well,
a lot of people collected stamps.
Well, it's like baseball cards or Pokemon cards. I mean, it's the same idea. But I think now let me ask you this: did you know a lot of people who played Pokemon? Like the game?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Pretty much everyone I knew at one point. Okay.
Because I would say the people I knew, it was maybe a 50-50 split.
Are we talking about the card game?
Yes, the card game.
Okay, no, I thought you were talking about the actual game.
No.
The card game, I knew like a handful of people who played the card game, but a lot of the times they played it on their Game Boy.
Yeah, because I feel like the cards are like Pogs, where it's like, you didn't necessarily buy them to play them. You just bought them to have them.
To have them. You had a binder full of...
It wasn't about the game.
Pogs, you had a collection of Pogs. Right, I agree. I think it was just the fad of collecting things. I think
And that was big in the 90s.
yeah, it was
I mean,
big in the
we
90s.
saw toys like Tickle Me Elmo and Furby and Beanie Babies. God, remember
Yep,
Beanie
collect
Babies?
them all, Beanie Babies,
I
right?
mean, I knew people who waited in line for hours outside of a store. They would call. We had a small store in our town, the only place you could get Beanie Babies. They had like spies, and like if you were friends with the store owner, they'd let you know, and like the special ones were coming in,
Wow.
and they're like special like cases on the shelves for the bears that were really rare. It was a whole thing. But you're right, the '90s was really a big deal about collecting.
Yeah, collecting meant a lot, and I think that speaks a lot about the economy
Mm,
in the 90s because
wow.
the economy was we were on a huge boom.
Hmm.
Everything was going great.
It was a
Uh,
consumer culture.
consumer
People wanted
culture.
more.
We wanted
It was
more, and
never enough.
we had the means to get
That's
more,
exactly right.
and that I think that's really where all that collecting, why it was so prevalent.
Well, in another game that I think really reflects the '90s mentality, and before I get to that, Matt, I do want to mention in what month is your birthday?
February.
Oh, perfect! I already found what I'm going to get you. I can get you
Ooh,
1,000 Pogs on eBay for $30.
sweet,
So I'm going to send you
sweet.
1,000 Pogs for your birthday.
That's
How's that sound?
an ideal present.
And it comes with 20 slammers, and
Oh,
it actually comes from Hawaii, so you might get some real
that's
authentic
a
ones.
lot of slammers. That's a lot of pogs.
It's a lot. It's 1,000. I mean, it comes in like a big bucket.
Are they like assorted pogs of like
Oh
different
yes.
shapes and sizes? Wow,
Yep.
that would be exciting.
So you can do whatever you
Pogs.
want with them. You can
Start up a new pog collection.
burn them for warmth. I don't know. No, but another. I was thinking about this too. For me, the '90s was a time of, especially as children, right? This was the decade where we saw the rise of ADD.
Yeah.
This was the decade we saw the rise of medicating your children. And I think no better game exemplified this than the anxiety-inducing Pop Goes Perfection.
Ooh,
A game that
okay.
combined the fun of defusing a live bomb with the stress-inducing kind of anxiety of an explosion in your face. And I remember playing Perfection as a kid, and my hands were shaking playing that game. It is with the loudest timer you've ever heard, tick 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 tick, and you're like your veins are popping in your head, and you're like, oh my god, and you're scrambling, and oh shit, I made a mistake, and I'm not going to make it, and then boom, the game erases itself if you don't do it fast enough.
Yeah, you
What
have to
is more
pick it all
90s
up.
than that?
It's very. I remember the commercials still to this day.
Put the pieces into the slot, make the
Make
right
the right
selection,
selection.
but be quick.
But be quick, you're erasing the clock.
Pop
Pop
goes
goes
perfection.
perfection.
God, so
Yes.
nice. Yeah, so that is kind of it's not even really a game because it's a one-player game, right?
Right.
You don't play it with two. You can play it with two, but I would say it's almost impossible to coordinate. So it's a one-person game. It's a game you play against yourself. It doesn't have any
Yep.
cards or pieces or strategy. It just do X as fast as possible. The board never changes. It's
Mhm.
literally just how fast can you. It's like cup stacking these days. If you see cup stacking in stores,
Oh yeah.
these things, it's just a game of how fast, or a Rubik's cube.
How fast can you move it?
Same idea.
Now I have another piece of '90s nostalgia that I think advances the same concept.
Yeah.
The Bop It.
Oh, bop it.
Remember the Bop It?
Oh, bop it.
You had to bop it,
Twist
you had to
it.
pull it, and you had to twist it.
Yes.
And you had to do it pretty fast, in fast succession, and it would only get faster and faster.
Yep.
You had to repeat the order that you had to basically repeat the command as quickly as you could.
Yep.
Or you would lose. And then you could make it a multiplayer game by passing it to a friend. But that was another stress-inducing game. Now that I think about it, stress-inducing one player or two player, multiple player games were like all the rage in the late 90s.
Well, and even maybe to a lesser extent, Don't Wake Daddy, a game where you didn't know when it was going to spring up,
Totally random, right?
and it was totally random, and it was this idea of be quiet, be silent. It's sneaky. You'll get in trouble if you fail, but
Yep.
you don't know when you'll fail.
You had no control over
God,
it.
it's no wonder '90s kids are so fucked up. Wow,
Wow.
it is kind of disturbing.
Yeah. As long as as long as we had games like Pogs, of course.
Pogs took the edge off.
That Pogs took the edge off. Pogs, that was a game you could sit down and just
Chill out. Yeah, that's right.
Like you did not have to stress while you were playing Pogs.
How stressful?
There was no timer.
I'll even put up Hungry Hungry Hippos. That was a stressful game.
Yeah, well, you had to. Hungry Hungry Hippos to me, and I know you said it was invented in the 70s.
But it came into its own in the 90s.
It really was. And I think it was really super popular in the 90s because it, like we said before, that entire culture of collectivism or of collecting
you have to have
things,
the most. You
collecting
want the most.
objects,
and take them away from other people.
I want to have the most, and I want to get them as quickly as I possibly can. That was the 90s, and that was why Hungry Hungry Hippos, a game like that, was so big. Yep. Greed is good.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Everything in the 90s had to be more. It really was the decade of more.
The decade of let me have more.
Yeah.
Let me get more. Let me take more.
I mean, this was the decade that took Battleship and made it electronic and nuclear. I mean, this was the decade that took the. You remember? I was reminiscing about my favorite '90s board game commercial ever in history, and I think you know the answer to this already. Crossfire. Do you remember Crossfire?
Crossfire. No.
Yeah. You know, they had like that like metal song. And the kids were like flying on like flaming boards, like into like the death arena.
Most misleading commercial.
It was just shooting marbles. Like it was. So
That's all
weak.
it was. It was marbles.
Sucked, but it had the best commercial. But you're right. It had that idea
the
of
commercial was way over the top.
Everything was extreme.
Yeah, taken to its extreme. Yep, that was the 90s.
It was. It really was. The introduction of the X Games and. They put yogurt in a tube and made Go-Gurt. I mean, everything was...
Well, because, you couldn't just sit down and enjoy your yogurt. You had to be on the move, going somewhere.
If it were the 80s, you would have just sat and listened to Ronald Reagan and enjoyed your yogurt. But instead, your yogurt's on the go. Everything was on the go.
You had to get that money. Or you had to get those Pogs. You had to get that money in order to buy those Pogs.
You had to collect them all. There was no time to waste. It wasn't collect some of them.
No,
you got to get
them all. Collect them all.
Oh my gosh.
Catch them all.
I'm anxious just thinking about it.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure to put on a kid.
It was. No, but it's true, and that's not to say these games weren't fun, because they were. But it is an interesting note of the swing games took in the 90s, where everything was about speed and up against a timer or something that would break. I remember what was the there was a game and it was Arctic themed, and you would put ice cubes on tissue, and you would have to complete it before they broke through. What was that?
It reminded me of that's another one, Jenga.
I mean, come on, that was...
I don't know how old that game is, but it was pretty big in the 90s. The one you're thinking of, I think it was just called Icebreakers.
Icebreakers. That would make sense.
Something like that. Don't Break the Ice or something?
Don't Break the Ice, I think that was it.
Maybe that was it. Kerplunk. Another extremely stressful game.
Yep.
That was where you had a series of these thin, almost straws, holding up a set of marbles in a plastic cylinder, and one by one you took turns taking the plastic straws out, and every time you would remove them, some marbles would fall, and whoever basically caused the last marble to drop lost, or the most of them or something.
It was a game that taught us that a euphoric positive feeling is relief of tension. And I think a lot of these games have that, and I think we've come to expect that as a society, where it's like a horror movie where you get a thrill out of releasing tension.
Yeah.
Maybe, we're playing psychology a little too much here, maybe. I don't know. Maybe we're reading a little too into it. Maybe they're just Milton Bradley want to sell more board games. I don't know. Jenga, by the way, really first introduced as early as 85. So you could call it a 90s game, really. I think that would be fair. It's closer than any of some of the other ones we've talked about.
I think it definitely came into its own 90s for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. which is
It's interesting.
it's surprising for a 90s game, by the way, in its simplicity.
Yeah.
For me, the 90s was a game of everything had to be more complicated. Think Mousetrap. But instead, Jenga's just a bunch of wooden blocks.
It's interesting to see this trend. I never really noticed it. And
the trend we made up.
Yeah, we could write a paper on it and be academic famous.
We so could. Someone probably did, like a study of board games over the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and
yeah, I'm sure it's around somewhere.
Seeing how that, Monopoly, a game about finances, was invented during the Great Depression. These games reflect the time you're in. But the sad part is, what games are being invented today? I don't even know. When was the last time you bought a game?
I see a lot of international games today. And as a matter of fact, I have it right here. I recently purchased this game at Barnes & Noble. It's called Machi Koro.
Uh-huh.
You see that?
Yeah.
Machi Koro is a game from Japan. I have another game from Japan, actually, too. Another board game I haven't started playing yet that I got as a Christmas gift. It's yeah, a lot of if you go into a Barnes and Noble or a Toys R Us, there are a lot of games from outside the country, and I think what really broke that mold was Settlers of Catan.
Yes,
which was I think made popular in the 80s, and that's a German board game.
Mm-hmm.
Settlers of Catan, and also the company who made that also made Ticket to Ride.
Oh, Ticket to Ride! I love Ticket to Ride.
Another game. See, I hate Ticket to Ride.
Oh, I love, but I only played the digital version. I've never played in person.
Yeah,
I gotta try that.
I tried the live version like once.
Wasn't for you.
It was not for me, but I understand the appeal. I understand why a lot of people like it. It's very methodical. I never really was able to grasp a strategy for it. Catan I love. Yeah, but that's the modern. I feel like that's the modern thing. If anybody even plays board games anymore, I'm not even sure. Most people don't. It's very much a dying passion. But
I think people play the concept of a board game. I just think you're right. There's no longer physically a board.
Yeah, I think if anything, they'll play it over the internet.
Right.
Or on their phones, or on their their iPads, or any sort of tablet.
100%.
To any of their devices. But in the live, there's something to be said, I think, for the live versions of stuff.
Agreed. I would say, for me, the new game trend is party games.
Party games.
I think in a way that hasn't been seen before, and I think it was really kicked off by, I'm going to even go back and say Apples to Apples, I think, was one of the real pioneers in kind of a social conversational game. And I think Cards Against Humanity coming in behind that, and then the rise of a lot of games like Heads Up and Exploding Kittens, and some of these Kickstarters I think been huge for this. Taboo.
Superheroes.
Yeah, you name it. I mean, go to Amazon and look up their top games list, and I guarantee a large chunk will be what are considered games. Most of them don't have a board. Most of them don't have player pieces. They're games that are conversational. They're games that require usually teams. Games that are designed to be played at large gatherings. And I think that's something, as I think back, like I said, Taboo, or maybe Categories, or Balderdash, or a few of these games. But I don't really think there were many. I feel like that's a phenomenon that's really taken off over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and what's interesting about those games you mentioned is not only are they designed to be played at large gatherings, but they're also designed with the concept in mind that the player, or all the players, have to be pretty creative.
Yes.
They have to be very well versed in. Basically, they're rewarded for their creativity. All of those games that you mentioned, the players rewarded for their creativity, especially Cards Against Humanity is what comes to mind.
Well, Cranium, I think, is a good peak of that description.
Yeah,
it is a game about creativity.
You have to be if you're the most creative person wins, and not only there's no rubric for that creativity. It's all determined by the other players, which is good and bad, but ultimately it's much more up to you. Like it really gives the control to the player
Yep.
more than any other game ever has. I think, and these party games, it's all up to who wins and who loses is all entirely up to the people playing, which is
100%.
what's really cool
Well,
about
they're
the game.
little rules, right? Very
Yeah,
few rules, usually on a
very few
single sheet.
rules.
There's no path from A to B, right? There's no, like, when you play Monopoly, you know what it's going to take for you to win. But in these games, you can end after 5 minutes. You can end after 3 hours, right? You
Right.
have complete control over these games. They really give you more of a platform than a set game, especially with things like house rules, which are very popular in a lot of these creative type party games. Um, so I think that's new, and I think board games, traditional style board games, I think have lost a lot of flair in the idea that, I'll get cultural with it, but I just think today people don't have, whether you want to call it attention span or time in general or whatever. I just don't think people are any more interested in, I have to commit the next 4 hours to playing this game, and I know how it's going to play out, and we've got to just keep going around and doing the same things over and over until someone wins. And I'm following this big rule book, and I think you're right. I think, we talk about the 90s as the decade of more. I really think this decade, or even 2000 through 2010 and then leading into now, is really the decade of choice. Right, we have more choices now than we've ever had as a society,
Right.
which is terrifying as someone who can't make a decision. But I think our games really reflect that now, and that these games give you more choice and more options and more flexibility than any other game. Any other game, think like Risk. A game like Risk, nobody plays Risk anymore because Risk isn't fun.
Yeah. I
Risk,
love Risk.
well, I
What are
know.
you talking about?
No, and listen, the fundamentals of Risk are great. But it's long, it's tedious, it's
Takes a while to set up.
oh, it takes forever. I don't know why.
That's another thing about
All
the
those
games you
stupid
mentioned,
little
is that there's
soldier
no setup.
pieces. Oh,
There's very, very little pieces or equipment in the games you mentioned
absolutely.
before.
It's cards. They're mostly
Just cards,
cards.
right? Mostly just cards, and you don't even have to take that many out. Every team basically gets one or two at a time.
Hmm.
Yeah, and there's definitely I think minimalism is the key when it comes to games today,
Mhm.
and that's a trend that's very recent. I would say starting with, like you said, apples to apples really kind of broke the mold.
Yeah.
Uh, there's not all those pieces from Risk. There's not a money to dole out from Monopoly. There's not, you know,
Well, we talked about this when we talked about life on the last episode, where the
yeah,
rules have
not a
gotten
board set
easier
up.
and simpler
Yeah,
to reflect the times.
the concepts are all very, very, and I don't want to say dumbed down because they're not dumbed down. They're just
Streamlined.
streamlined. Yeah, streamlined is a better word. Yeah, they're definitely streamlined to just get to the point faster.
Mhm.
And I think that is really speaking to this generation, is that get to the point faster
Yep.
is the key. Spend less time getting to the point so we can get to the next point and we can
Yep.
get to the next point.
Yep.
Um, so it's very different from the culture of let's collect as much as possible. More so, it's almost like let's collect as much information as possible
Mhm.
and do it as quickly as we can.
And in an age where Google is your ultimate resource, that's not surprising.
Right. Right.
Matt,
So,
I brought up party games for a reason.
okay.
I need you to talk for the next 30 seconds while I grab something. Can you handle
I will
that?
talk.
Can I leave
I
you
can
alone with the
absolutely.
audience? Will you treat
I
them
will do.
responsibly?
I will do that 30-second filibuster for you.
All right, ready?
Okay. Ready, set,
Go.
go. Party games are awesome. I like party games. If you have a party game that you like, please comment on our web zone. Tell us what party games you like to play. Whether it's apples to apples, whether it is Cards Against Humanity, let us know on that website. Tweet us your favorite party game.
What's our new Twitter handle, Matt?
It's going to be hashtag
No.
up for debate.
At Up for
Hashtag
Debate TV.
at Up for Debate TV. Hashtag fun.
Hashtag fun. Hashtag
Make sure you throw in that hashtag for party games. Hashtag.
party games. Well, Matt, you know why I brought up party games? A, because I do think that's a true point, but also B, Matt, we have a giveaway for the audience to launch our new name.
Yes, we do.
And I couldn't think of a better way to do it than to talk about it, Matt. This show is Up for Debate. Why is it called that?
Because we are always up for debate.
We are always up for debate.
About any topic.
I couldn't think of a better giveaway to reflect that sentiment than the hottest new party game on the internet. Go ahead. Amazon right now and look up card games. Cards Against Humanity is number 1. You know what game is number 2? With a perfect 5-star rating?
Let us know.
The Contender. We know
The
the answer.
Contender.
The Contender, the hot new card game. I got this off of Kickstarter. The game of presidential debate. So, Matt, have you played this before?
I have not played it before. I'm
Brand new.
very much looking forward to it, though.
It's a lot of fun. And I'll just quickly show you so you know what you're going to win, because you can win this. It's basically Cards Against Humanity play style, where you have category cards. This one is income inequality, right? They're all debate topics, okay? And there's women, and there's climate change, and then you have card actual like quotes and ideas from real debates. So this is Mitt Romney. Everybody's different. You can play at what cost? Things you might say in an actual debate. Blanks will say income inequality used to be better. And there's literally like 100 cards in here. You can love income inequality without being married to income inequality. So there's a bunch of them, and you play them Cards Against Humanity where in like a party setting, you actually get a debate going. And unlike Cards Against Humanity where you play one person at a time, everyone jumps into play. So you'll play one and someone will counteract you. It's a fun and funny game. Matt, our audience is going to get to win a copy.
That's pretty cool.
And it's shrink wrapped. This is my copy I got too. So don't worry, I didn't play yours. But Matt, do you want to know how people can win?
I would like to know how I can win.
Well, you
I'd like
can't
a
win
copy
because you're
of
on the
this.
show. I'm sorry. You can go on Amazon and buy one.
I would like to know how. Damn, I can't switch my letters. My names.
Matt Mariotti is
they
really
start with the same letter.
Damn. Should have thought of that first.
I'd like to know how Mike Mariotti can win a copy of this game.
Well, this sounds legitimate. Mike Mariotti can do one of two things. One, they can go to upfordebate.tv. There is a link to submit your name. Just a little form. You put in your name and your email, and that's all you have to do to enter. Or you can go on Twitter, look up our Twitter feed, at upfordebatetv. The top tweet will most likely be the one you're looking for. All you have to do is retweet it, and you'll be entered to win as well. You can do one entry both ways, so up to 2 entries, and we will randomly pick a winner after the contest being up for a week. The date will be on the website and on Twitter as for when it closes, and you can look there. And that's all you got to do. No purchase necessary, as they say. Many will enter, few will win. One will win. We're only giving away one, so you got to do it. And of course, subscribe to the show too. That doesn't help you win, but you should do it anyway. Sound good, Matt?
Sounds great.
I'm excited. I think this is like I said, we usually give away shit with our logo on it, and this is an actual thing you can use and like have fun. You'll be the envy of all your friends.
Yeah.
I played this at a New Year's party, and it was a blast. So I will recommend it personally.
Cool.
Okay.
I mean, it's really cool. Sounds like a good game.
Yeah, well, it's new and it's free, so if you don't like it, you don't have to play it again. But you're getting it for free and for being a fan of the show, because we love our fans, and
we love our fans.
We have a new name, and we're glad you're coming along with us for the change as well. Staying with us. Let's see, Matt. We've got some time left in the episode. If there's any other games or anything 90s we didn't get to, we got through basically my whole list.
You know what we didn't touch on yet?
What did we get to?
Gigapets. We didn't talk about Gigapets.
Tamagotchis, yes.
Gigapet and Tamagotchi. Was that the same thing?
Basically.
It was different, wasn't it?
Well, one was square and one was round, but the concept.
But I think Gigapets was definitely, it was a pet. So it was definitely
a
like
dog or a cat, yeah.
Was the Tamagotchi also an animal?
No, it was like a little blob.
It's a little guy. Yeah, I thought it was like a little amorphous figure.
Yeah,
I didn't know what a Tamagotchi. I had a Gigapet. Mine was a frog.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was like an official Gigapet. I think it was like a knockoff. kind of. I was not a good Gigapet owner.
Oh
My
boy.
frog died pretty quickly.
Oh boy.
Um, Also, I didn't really get it. I didn't really think it was very fun because all you really did was you just had to make sure you fed your Gigapet like regularly, and then it eventually grew up into the mature form of whatever it was. So, like your frog, actually, the frog started as an egg, and after a certain amount of time, it would hatch into a tadpole.
Hmm.
Tadpole would transition into like a middle phase, and then it would eventually, I guess, become a frog. Mine never made it that far. Um, there was other ones. I think I knew my friend had a bird, like a bird Gigapet.
Well, apparently there was a cat. There was a T-Rex you could get,
Oh yeah,
according to Wikipedia.
and yeah, you just had to basically make sure you fed it. Like there was nothing really else you could do with it. I think you just had to feed it.
Well, no,
Eventually, it grew.
you could bathe it and exercise it and discipline it.
Yes, yes. Okay. Well, mine you couldn't do that. All you could do was feed mine because it was a knockoff Gigapet.
Now,
But
now I'm looking at the page for the official Gigapet, but do you know what the programmed average life of a Gigapet was?
the average life of a Gigapet,
Yes, like
I
the
didn't know they
virtual
had an
one.
average life.
Like how long did they? Because yours died, mine died
Yes,
pretty quickly. But they
yes.
actually had what was programmed to be if you just did like the kind of minimum amount, how long it could live on average.
No. What was that?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
They say 2 weeks was the average, but they say very
Okay.
healthy pets can live longer.
Okay.
Now, of course, Gigapets were released to compete with Tamagotchis. Um, they were released for about $10 a piece, um, and they were released around 96, 97.
So that's another thing is you could collect all of the Tamagotchis or
Yeah,
all of the Gigapets if you wanted.
yeah, because Tamagotchis were
It's
basically all
kind
the
of the
same.
start of it. Yeah,
Um,
but that was the start of collecting it all.
I'm going to be honest though, I think I like Tamagotchi better,
Yeah.
and the main reason for that was because it was simpler, if I remember correctly, because you basically just fed it, and that was it. There really wasn't a lot. For me, Gigapets was more involved, and as a young boy who wasn't very responsible, it was not something I was handling well.
Gotcha. Well, that was actually a fade that kind of came and went pretty quick. I don't think that one stuck around for a very long time.
No, I don't. I don't think so as well. First sold in 1996 in Japan. By 2010, over 76 million of them had been sold worldwide.
Yeah.
Do you know where the name Tamagotchi comes from, by the way?
I'm going to make a guess.
You probably can because it's Japanese.
It's Japanese, and the word tomodachi means friend.
No.
And so I always assume like they just like made it digital, like Tomogachi.
No, that's a good guess, though. But
Okay.
apparently, Tomago means egg.
Oh,
And and Tamagotchi is a combination of tamago and then watch. So it's your egg watch.
egg. Oh, like you're watching the egg.
Yeah.
Okay, and that makes sense why they're like blobs. I guess they.
Tamagotchi. Tamago and watch. So,
Okay.
little fun fact. Now, I didn't know, man, did you know that they brought the Tamagotchi back a couple
No,
years ago?
I did not know that.
They had a new one. They could communicate with each other wirelessly. And you
So
could marry your Tamagotchis to each other and have a
okay,
family and offspring.
that's a little bit verging on the God aspect. Like you're kind of like ruling this creature's life.
And this was the same problem I had with The Sims. Did you
Yeah,
ever play
just
The
like The
Sims?
Sims.
The
Oh yeah,
first
I played The
Sims
Sims.
was like
It's kind of scary.
feed
Like you
them
have.
and have a bathroom
Yep.
and send them to work each day, and like that was it. It was easy. And then I get like The Sims 3 or The Sims 4, whatever, and it's like they have more goals and dreams than I do. Like, they're like,
Right.
oh, he needs to read a book because his goal, right now he works plumbing, but he really wants to be an artist, so you should send him to
Yeah.
art school. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
They have they have
calm down.
desperate desires and passions.
They have like
They
so many
they
metrics.
My favorite Sim story that I have, I had these two guys living in a house, and they kept complaining about the atmosphere. Everything else that I provided for them was great. Their food level was high, their health was perfect, their aspirations were met, all of this great stuff. Their atmosphere or environment, I think it was environment, was like all the way at the bottom. Because I spent money on all the practical things that they needed, not paintings or beautiful crafted furniture. They lived in an extremely modest house,
Yeah.
but everything necessary, all the necessities were met. So I had just had it with their complaining and constant whining for lack of atmosphere that I deleted everything in their house except for the paintings. I just used all the money. I deleted the bathroom, I deleted the kitchen,
Yep.
and I used all the money to buy paintings to line the walls with. So their atmosphere went all the way up, everything else went all the way down, and they starved to death.
That's awesome. That was what was great about The Sims when it was simple was you could just do the dumbest shit, and I was a big Sims player, the original, the first, no expansions, not just the original.
The original.
And what I would do, see, this was my second twisted nature, is that you would put them in to the house and you'd fill all the walls with fireplaces, and then the floor with those ugly little green plants, like every square inch of floor, and within 2 minutes the whole house would be on fire. That was the trick. And you would
That
burn
was
the
the
house
trick.
And then the sim would turn into a ghost.
Yes.
You ever kill anybody? They'd be a ghost. And
No,
you could, like, control them to some degree, and they'd
I don't
float
remember
around your
that.
house.
I remember in a future Sims one, if a Sim died, the Grim Reaper would show up, and then they played rock paper scissors with the Grim Reaper.
Yep.
My Sims never lost. They always won and got to like get reincarnated basically. I guess they lost. They were dead.
And you had to start over, I guess.
And I guess you had to make a new Sim. But
I always use the cheat codes in that game.
yeah, Rosebud.
Rosebud! I was just thinking
Rosebud was the money one, right?
Yeah.
Every time you typed in Rosebud, you got money.
$1,000,000.
Yeah.
And just build the craziest shit.
I thought the easiest way was just to put them in the pool and then delete the stairs.
Oh, that's a good way. But that's why I did Roller Coaster Tycoon, is you would drop them in the pool.
In the
See, now
water.
we're getting into a different kind of 90s game.
Yeah, these are all 90s stuff.
Computer games.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be a future episode.
I think it could be. I know it's on our list, and I know we've got some friends who are pretty into video games who could probably join us. The problem is, like most fun things in the 90s, I didn't play that many computer games, to be honest. I did a few of the big ones. My big one was Need for Speed for PC, and I had the USB steering wheel and pedals I got for Christmas one year.
Wow.
And you would strap them to the desk, and you would literally control the game.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was so much fun. But I would be so aggressive, I would like nearly rip it off the desk because you're like, you're being chased by the police.
You were an angry gamer in the 90s, Sean.
That's probably why I didn't play
Angry
shooter games. I never played shooter games.
Thank God you didn't play those shooter games. You would
because it would have been good. No,
very angry.
The puzzle games and the simulation games. That was about it.
Those were some fun times.
They were, Matt, but sadly, the dream of the 90s is dead.
Is it though? Is it really?
Not in your heart.
Not in your heart. I mean, you said yourself, Tamagotchi made a comeback.
It did. Listen, what's old is Furby, I think, made a comeback a couple of years ago.
Old and new again.
When's the Baja Men's new album?
Yeah, we might be seeing Beanie Babies on the shelves again.
That's a good idea, actually. Someone should bring those back.
Except most likely they'll probably be on your iPad, and you could download and delete them
stupid.
And buy them in the App Store. And then you can, of course, buy a gazillion little things that they can do. Yeah, Beanie Bucks and all the, of course, all the accessories.
Ugh, hats and
Beanie Baby habitats, Beanie Baby environment.
I want to laugh and say that's stupid, but there's some marketing person somewhere right now pitching exactly that to the Beanie Baby people.
Yeah, totally. It totally is. Well.
Oh, well.
Who knows what tomorrow will bring, right?
That's right. But we know.
Stuff. We know.
Because we've got some things coming up exciting on this and other shows, Matt. First of all, Dungeons & Dragons.
Yeah.
We've done it on this show 10 times, to be exact. But we're not doing it anymore.
Not anymore.
We're done.
Not on this show.
Exactly. Not on the show, on a new show.
On a new show.
On a new
Our newest show.
Brand spanking new. Game Nights is our
Game
new
Nights.
program. Matt, myself, Colby, and Dan. For the moment, D&D, who knows what comes next after that. We're going to be playing games and having fun while doing it. We'd like you to listen and watch along. How can you do that? Well, it's a separate feed, so you'll no longer see D&D on the Goldilocks Zone / Up for Debate feed. They will no longer appear after Chapter 10. Okay? No more. They will not exist here. You have to go to a new feed and subscribe, which you should, at GameNights.tv. That is the website. If you go there, it has, just like the Up for Debate page, all the links to everything, the social sites, the subscribe sites, all of the episodes. They will be posted there. iTunes and Stitcher and all of the big podcasting apps. It's very easy to describe. GameNights.tv and Game Nights TV on Twitter as well.
Yeah. And definitely look forward to our next episode. It's going to be great.
You want to tease
what have we
talk about?
Yeah, what are we up to? What are we up to in D&D? Like the last episode that came out.
The last episode that came out, we ended with us in the tunnels under the mansion. I was attacked with a mental attack by a one-eyed monster. I barely survived, and if I remember correctly, we were about to open a treasure chest.
I think we did open it.
Did we open it? Okay.
Yes, we did. We opened it.
It had stuff in it.
It had really cool stuff in it.
There you go. And if you want to find out what that cool stuff is, you're going to have to listen in. Don't want to give too much away. So
really cool.
And we're going to continue to examine what is down there, because I'm sure there's even more fantastic adventures.
Oh yes, there's plenty more quests.
Oh,
we've barely scratched the surface.
Yeah, we're not even halfway through. So
there's a lot more to explore. There's a lot more cool new characters to meet.
Yep, side quests. We got a ton of them.
We've got a list of side quests to keep you guys entertained on your way to work. And
I will tell people, if you haven't been listening, don't feel bad jumping in the middle. I swear the story is not that complex.
No.
We'll get you up to speed pretty quickly, so jump in at any time and get involved.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be. We have a lot of cool stuff ahead.
I think so. Now, Matt, what are we going to do next on this show?
The next thing we're going to do on this show.
Yeah, I'll put you on the spot. I've got no problem with that.
I think next, all right, ready how I handle this? The next thing on our show is going to be we're going to do a playoff style bracket.
Okay. I love it. We've done that. It went well.
We've done them in the past.
Yes.
We're going to do it again. What it's going to be about?
Yes.
Let's just put a little hint out there. Grab your pencils, grab your books.
I don't even know what the hell he's talking about. So.
Grab your popcorn. Get your popcorn ready. It's going to be a show.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but that's okay. That's fine. We're going to surprise the people with a fun bracket episode. And I swear, because I enjoy doing it, and I think you do too, we are going to do an Iowa preview for the 2016 election. I don't know when, but in an upcoming episode.
We got to do it.
We're going to do an Iowa preview. And then we'll probably do another election episode after Iowa and New Hampshire, but before South Carolina. We'll try and squeeze one in as well.
Yeah.
Because I like talking about that. It's interesting too.
We got to stay up and current. We can't just keep talking about the 90s.
No. No. We're onwards
today.
2016 in the future. That is it.
I'm pretty sure that Bob Dole is going to win it all this year.
It's going to Dukakis. It's all going to Dukakis. The man for the people.
But we all know in the end, Ross Perot is just going to take it.
Oh, see, I thought you were going to say in the end, we all know Dewey defeats Truman.
Nader defeats Buchanan. McGovern.
Ross Perot defeats Clinton.
McGovern 2016.
Oh boy. We're getting political here. Thanks everybody for joining us. As we've listed all the. I'm not going to go through it all again. You know everything.
You know the story.
You know the story. We've been there, done that. We appreciate you being here. On behalf of Matt, I'm Sean, of course. Always up for debate. Join us next time. We'll have more stuff to talk about. But until then, I think we're going to wish you a fair good night. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot.